Okay, so I'll talk.
Okay, good.
Okay, these are some of my ideas for the city of San Jose to address climate crisis and reduce global warming. I think probably the worst problem I see in San Jose is the fact that its trees are not covering our canopy, covering our concrete, our roads. It's hot and glary in the summer, and we're choosing the wrong trees and to plant. In cases like where near me, we've got San Carlos with palm trees and small trees that do not cover the canopy. And the palm trees have root systems that are so dense that nothing will grow with them. They're very expensive to maintain. I think palms should be out of the city and not grown anywhere. We should just get rid of them. And we really need good trees to, and in the case with these 4-lane streets like San Carlos, we need good canopy trees. Unfortunately, we did have some jacarandas at one time, and then they took them out and put palm trees in. That was a real mistake. We need to plant our trees and all of our plants with healthy soil biology. We have a clay pan that came from using chemicals and plowing by the orchardists. And so most of San Jose and the valley is all got hard clay. And I've noticed that the people who are planting, and even the tree people that are planting trees, the companies that do this, don't have a clue what to do. But we need to get the soil biology corrected in whenever we plant anything, and especially the trees. So when you need to use chicken manure, horse manure, but I prefer chicken manure. The problem, anyway, if you have one handful of healthy soil, you should have more alive organisms than people in the world in that soil. And there are worker bees, and they will improve the soil, 40% less water for plants. They will sequester carbon, and they will feed and aerate the plants and and help the soil. But one of our problems right now is we don't have the chicken manure locally. And I think that what San Jose could really do is get the chicken farmers to start supplying that and paying them to do it, and start using it everywhere. The public needs it, the city needs it everywhere, in every single park, every single street. So that is, I think, a really important thing to think about. And the idea that healthy soil biology will sequester carbon is really important. So the other thing that is really, I think, a real negative for San Jose is it's just increasing these boxy high rises, and they go high in their boxes. They don't have any shapes to the tops. They don't have roof gardens. They don't have the setbacks for trees. They're actually, in my profession, I know specifically the researchers that have done and have available developed trees for high rises next to them, tall, narrow trees. We're not using them. We're not bringing them into the city. We don't even know about them, unfortunately. So we need to soften these buildings, and that glare that's coming from them. They need balconies and plants on the balcony everywhere, hanging baskets, and anything green on that tree. The roof garden needs to be greened up on the top. especially these large complexes, they need to be, have a better, they need, there needs solar panels, recycling water, rainwater collection, all of those things. I don't see any of that happening. We should, most of them all, are closed up. They don't have windows. You can't open them. You have to use air conditioning. And we get free, wonderful, fresh air every afternoon from the bay, and we should be using that. And unfortunately, that's another thing that's really causing a climate problem for us, is the way we're building those high rises and the complexes, these big developments. So the other one, we should, let's see what else. San Jose, the edges of San Jose need to be protected from the wildfires. Some of the ideas are to plant plants around the private and public places, plant plants that don't burn, and build buildings made out of hemp material, especially hemp roofs. Hemp will not burn. Anything hemp building materials. The problem is that hemp is not available in the West Coast. Nobody's growing it for the industry, and we're not thinking very well about the fire issues anywhere in California. These issues are not being addressed. We need the hemp industry. Hemp can grow anywhere in any kind of soil, any kind of weather. It doesn't need much water. So we could, in some of our areas, we could be growing hemp. And if we could find a manufacturer, somebody, Silicon Valley's got lots of money sitting there waiting. We could manufacture them for the entire West and make money out of it. That would be a really, really good business for us, and it would help to protect us. The other thing is these edges where fire is prone to come in to the city. If we have water tanks, storing water, the average roof with the average rain will collect 25,000 gallons of water a year, a season. And if we collected that water in 25,000 gallon or 5,000 gallon, 10,000 gallon tanks, then we'd have that water available on private properties and in all of our parks. And that would be a really wonderful, those ideas are wonderful ways to stop the fires. And none of this is being done in these rural interface areas in California. And we're setting ourselves up for having fires everywhere. And if we did it right, maybe the rest of the state would go in that direction. So these are just, the other thing is that the hemp building materials are not in the West Coast, not in the West. And basically, if we want to get these materials today, we have to go up to Canada and bring it down. And why don't we make the money here? San Jose needs a botanical garden badly. The top 30 cities, population-wise, in the United States all have a botanical garden, except number 10, San Jose. Botanical gardens help people understand nature. Now, nature heals, and people need to not spend their time going to the mountains to get nature, to get away from the city, but create nature in the city. And then have these natural spaces with fountains all over and with canopied trees. So people love being here. So if we have a botanical garden, we will teach people how to understand nature and how, and there'll be special guests from all over the world to talk about that. And we become a nature city by doing that. I just think that that's something that we're really missing. And right now with this pandemic, everyone is talking. I mean, lots of research and lots of articles being written about nature healing. Even the San Jose, Silicon Valley Medical Foundation had a conference on this subject. The problem is they say they send people to the mountains for nature when I say it can be here. I have a certified wildlife habitat, and I have the birds and the bees and the butterflies and man. And I'm getting all these techies coming by and saying, what happened? How come I feel so peaceful just on my sidewalk? We need that, people to feel that, and they don't feel that in the city. So, why does it have to happen just in one or two places here? Not even our parks do it. I think our parks really should have, as they do in England, they should have, a house, a guest house, or a house for the per person in charge of maintenance, so that they are responsible. One person is responsible for making sure that all the parks are nature driven and they're maintained well. Right now, we're getting the maintenance person for pruning, the maintenance person for mowing, the maintenance person for whatever. And it's not one person responsible. And that's part of the problem. And there's really no park that I've been to that I feel, except for the creeks, that I feel that the birds and the bees and the butterflies are there, because we don't have the right plants for them and the right protection for the birds and places for them to feel safe. We don't do that. We just have them for people, and it's not for all of life. And that's a mistake. Should I keep going?
Yes.
Okay. The problem right now that we have is we've got the best nature areas in San Jose are along our creeks. The problem is that we share the creeks and the paths with bikes. The people have to walk with bikes, and so therefore the trails are straight and they're up high. And they're not down along the creeks, and they're not curvy for people, and there's no benches. They're more for bikes than they are for people right now, those paths. And people don't feel safe with the bikes. So, you don't really, I don't like walking the creek trails for that reason. And we need to separate the bikes from the people and make sure that they get to feel and hear the birds, and they're not going to. And the problem with the bikes on those creek trails is they're just there for commuter bikes, and it's not safe for walkers. I will not walk on them. We need to change that. Having more nature and more able to have and hear and see the birds and the bees and the butterflies. There's very few places in San Jose, including the parks. I don't hear them. And there should be moving sound water everywhere because all of those need them. So, you don't see the moving water in the parks, so the birds aren't going to come. So we don't have it. We just don't have it. And we should. Every open space and even tiny little spaces should have it. We just need to become a garden city like we were once called the Garden City. And I was fortunate to work with the city of Singapore to help them to create the Garden City of Asia. And the process which I was able to do and help them is something that we should do. So when I met the director of development for Singapore, he said, "What can you do to help me? Help us?" And I said, "Well, I would like to start with your worst problem. And then we will go on to the next one and the next one. And maybe in the process, we'll find a few more." So, basically the two first things we hit were, one was it was just a hot city. There were tree canopies were not there. And they were building these high rises like ours, boxy, and they were for low income, and they were awful. They were ugly. So I wanted to make sure that they got to be more beautiful and were surrounded with trees and had curves and paths and balconies and just what I talked about, what we need for our high rises. And we got that to happen. And then the other thing that we got to happen is found some really good shade trees that were canopy trees. No parking lot had trees until, I was there. And so we got canopy trees for streets and canopy trees for parking lots and just planted them all over the street and all over. And those two were the first. And then I went on to the other departments. But the key was I went into each department and worked with the staff and the department and made new rules for them and tried to start a beautification program for each department, because they don't talk to each other, the departments. And that's true here in San Jose too. So we need to change the rules in each department and change the way they do things. San Jose used to be called Santa Clara Valley. It was called the Valley of Heart's Delight. No more, unfortunately, but we can bring it back. Let's see. There are a couple of trees that should not be planted. Redwoods, you can plant them occasionally as a specimen, but not in lines. We have terrible tree planting along our county roads, county expressways and freeway, the state freeway. We could do something about that. We could get better planting and get canopy planting over these freeways, and not these lines like along 880 of dying redwoods. The redwoods are native to our two creeks. They need water, and they're not getting it on these freeways. And on, when you see them, they're not, most are not looking good. We should not be planting them except when we know we're going to be able to give them some extra water. So I guess that's about it. One other thought, and just, have permeable concrete so the water doesn't, leave the area. So our curbs could be permeable concrete instead of concrete, so that the water would then go down into the water table instead of leave the site. And then encourage homeowners to have to collect water, rainwater, and they will then use less water, and encourage them to get chicken manure as well for their soils. Also, fescues, grasses were here natively in Santa Clara County before white man came, and they did not need water anytime, extra water, shade or sun, and we should be using those as grasses because they don't take a lot of water, and because they look good with our environment, and we should be requiring that kind of grass, which we don't. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. One more thing. Everywhere there is a sitting place for the public should be shade. Trees, not just a canopy, a covering that's hot, but a tree to keep it shady and cool. Any place there's a resting place to get public transportation, anytime people are walking to get public transportation, there should be shade. And there isn't. It is not. I will not take public transportation because of that. I would if there was, if it was a pleasant place to sit and not have all that glare and heat, which is just not good for the environment and not good for global warming issues. San Jose has a long way to go, but we can start with some of these issues. Okay, that's it.
I guess you can hear my question. Can you hear me on your phone or no? Can you hear me on your phone? No. Okay. Can you hear me on your phone? Can you hear me on the phone, Kathryn?
Tessa, I probably could say one more thing. I didn't say my background.
Okay, good. And I just had one question.
Would you like me to do that? Just wave.
Yeah. And then the one question I had, did you say that you use, okay, you can't hear me? Can you hear me? I was just saying, do you use hemp for your roof?
Or too? You can say what it is.
No, go ahead, say it. Go ahead, talk, say it. Go ahead, Kathryn. Kathryn.
Okay, I'll say it.
Yeah, say it.
So I have a business that I have had for since 1979, 43 years. It's called Secret Gardens, named after the book and the theme of the book, which is healing nature. And I've got a master's in landscape architecture and environmental planning, and that from UC Berkeley, and then an undergraduate degree in biology. I've taught in the university, taught landscape architecture classes, and I have received a lot of awards, national and local, for the work I have done over the years. More is available. I have the best before and after pictures, I think, on the internet, on my website, secretgardens.com, and a lot more experiences I won't talk about unless you want to go look it up on my website or LinkedIn. Anyway, that's it.
We love you. Okay, good.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. We love you. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see.